there, crafty friends. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to create another art journal page today, and I'm going to use the fabulous Double Spellbinders embossing folders, which have two embossing options on each folder. I'm going to start by cutting white cardstock and creating all my embossing textures that I want to use on my art journal page. I'm going to do it with my little green frog, or by its more common name, Cuttlebug. So I'm inserting a piece of white cardstock into the folder and running it through the Cuttlebug. And I'm going to get a very, very nice pattern texture. And now if I want to use the other option on my folder, I'm just flipping it and inserting another piece of white cardstock. This way I can use each folder for two different patterns. So I'm going to create all my patterns now on white cardstock. It's a little bit hard to see the pattern, but it's going to be very visible later when we add the color. So I'm just creating all my textures. It's really easy to use, and the textures are really crisp and sharp and raised. These folders are fabulous. I love them. Thank you, Spellbinders. So now I have all my textures to add to my page. So I'm going to glue them to my page with gel medium, just tearing the edges a little bit and gluing them to my page. I'm not sealing the paper with the gel medium, I'm just using it as glue to add my pieces of paper to the page. Make sure you glue all the edges very well. Just add more and more pieces from all the different textures you created, all the embossed textures. It's really a little bit difficult to see, but it's going to be really visible later. I wish you could just run your fingers on it and feel the great texture that we have here. Keep on adding all the pieces. Then once you're done, we're going to add the color. I'm going to use different colors of Distress ink and blend them on the page. They blend really well together. So just with circular motions of my blender, I'm adding the ink. Look at the beautiful pattern. Amazing. Just with a little color you can create such a beautiful effect. So just add more and more ink and blend them together. Different colors. I'm using brown, green, and blue. Look at that. It's really pretty. You can see all the embossing patterns on the papers. Just blend and blend until you're happy with the result. Now I'm going to add even more texture on the texture that we already have. I'm going to use tissue paper. I'm going to wrinkle it and add it to my page to create more texture. I'm gluing it to my page with gel medium, and this time I'm also sealing it on the top, making sure it's really glued to the paper. and adding the gel medium on top makes sure that all the wrinkles and bumps are going to stay where I put them. It won't move. So just add more and more pieces of tissue. All the pieces are also, apart from adding more texture, they also hide the edges of the white cardstock, the embossing, that the embossed pieces that we added before. So there's a double purpose here for the tissue paper. Just add more and more pieces, wrinkle them, and glue them to the page. Make sure you cover all the pieces with the gel medium so it will be sealed. Now I'm going to add a little bit of gesso to my page. I have water here and I'm adding gesso. I'm blending the gesso with water because I want to have a wash effect. I don't want it to be very white, so this way I'm diluting it in the water and it's like a wash. It also seals some of the areas. Adding a little bit gesso here and there. Blending everything together gives it a cohesive look. And another layer of color. Make sure everything is dry with your heat tool. Now I'm going to use my hot glue gun for a very fun technique. I'm creating waves or bumps with my hot glue gun. It's almost like drawing with it. And as you know, the glue does not run or spread. So it's actually like creating texture, painted texture on the page. You just have to wait a few minutes and then it's completely dry. And then you can color it. You can paint it. I'm using gold acrylic paint. And I'm just painting those waves that I created. They're basically really raised, like it's almost like a plastic or something that with texture that you put on the page, like using clay or something. Has a really great look. So it's a really fun technique to use with a hot glue gun. Something maybe you haven't thought about, because we usually use it to glue things. So now we use it to create texture. Just dry the paint. Now we're going to spray a little bit. I usually just spray, but on this page I want to absorb the excess of the color with some tissue paper and then spray again a few times. This gives me an effect that is color but not a lot of liquid on the paper. Make sure it's dry. I'm going to add alcohol ink, some drops of color, and I'm going to create little pools with the ink so I can let them run and create drippage. Just adding a few colors of alcohol ink and raise my journal a little bit, just tilt it, and then you'll see how it runs. Has a great effect. The more liquid you add, the more it runs. And then you have little pools of color on the bottom where the glue stops it, the raised glue that we created for before. Just add more and more, and then you have those little wonderful pools. Just love it. After you're happy with the result, just make sure it's all dry before we move to the next step. I'm going to create my sentiment, my title from grunge board letters. Going to add a little color to them with some spray and alcohol inks, the same colors I used on my page, so it will all be coordinated. Just adding randomly here and there and drying it with my heat tool. Now I'm going to add it to my page. Basically the title is Bumps Are Part of Life, which, like everybody knows, we all have bumps in our lives, obstacles and things that we have to overcome and deal with, and it's a part of life. We can't avoid it, we can't run away from it. It's just there, so we might as well do our best to deal with it and never let it stop us from achieving our dreams and our goals. So I'm adding my title after the psychology lesson I just gave you, and that's why we created all this texture, the embossing and the heels with the glue gun and the tissue paper. It's all bumps of life, metaphorical bumps, of course. So I'm just adding all my letters. As you can see, I'm not lining them straight. I'm just adding them so they won't be straight. I want each letter to face a different direction because it's like life. They're a little bit wet, so I'm heating them a little bit, adding more alcohol ink so the letters will be more visible. And won't get lost in all the color on the paper, on the page. So thank you for watching me. Our page is ready. I hope it has inspired you to create your own art journal page and overcome all of your life bumps. Thank you for watching. See you next Saturday.